Welcome everyone to another CTC software webinar. My name is Sean Zerbis. I'm the technical evangelist at CTC Software. In today's discussion, I want to share with you the BIM Project Suite. I'm going to go over a comprehensive introduction on what this suite can do for you. Now, I want to make a note. CTC has just recently partnered with APAL, our partner down there in Australia. I'm up in Minnesota in the USA right now, coming to you live. But my partners down in APAL are there in your backyard, ready to help answer any questions on how this suite might help you and how you can get your hands on it. We're going to talk more about that at the end of today's little discussion. Also, I want to make note that I always take questions live. So if you have questions about anything that I'm covering in today's discussion, I encourage you to throw them into the questions window, and I will do my best to get those answered as you ask them. Or I will also be saving a large question and answer period at the end in case you've got questions. We can answer them there. But get them queued up, ask them, don't be shy. So we're going to talk about the BIM Project Suite from our collection of tools, which effectively really allows Revit users, everyday Revit users, not just BIM managers, help them automate routine tasks, manage a lot of content, generate information, and do all of this in a lot less time, all within Revit. We're trying to keep you inside Revit as much as possible, and in some cases, where relevant, take you to some outside partner tools like Excel, where it makes sense. These particular tools are really used by firms of all sizes. So it's not just the 1 and 2 person architecture engineering firms. It's not just the 300, 400, 500 plus architectural engineering users in firms. It's everybody in between as well. And so I'm going to discuss and in some cases lightly demonstrate some of the functionality of the BIM Project Suite and take you through what it can do. There's a couple of things that I want you to know that I'm going to cover today. We're going to go through the basic functionality of all the tools. I want to highlight and show off some of the more popular tools that really affect everybody. There's some real specialized tools in this suite that affect specific disciplines, but I'm going to cover the tools that generally touch everybody, and I'm going to kind of help explain why and how you can get best started with the suite. We're going to talk a little bit about installation, talk a little bit about your deployment options, and also, of course, in case you want this, I'm going to talk about how you can get your hands on the suite. Now, because I'm not big on death by PowerPoint, I want to go live into Revit straight away and start talking about these tools in the Revit environment. And I want to point something out right away as well. I'm demonstrating this today from Revit 2018. And I do this on purpose. I like to use older versions because I know that many of you in industry, you're bound by what your partners are using. And so you may not be on the latest and greatest version of Revit. You might not have 21.1 installed right now, and that's okay. Our tools work in Revit 2017 all the way through Revit 21. One installation will install our tools on all those versions of Revit. And if you don't have one of those versions of Revit installed right now, say 21, when you do install it, our tools just magically show up. So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea as to how easy it can be to get these installed, and when you license them, they automatically apply to all those versions. Now I want to quickly talk about some licensing things. As you can see here, we've got a lot of tools up here on the ribbon. The focus today is on the CTC BIM Project Suite. And on this suite, you'll notice some light colored icons. Those are free. They have zero cost. They will never have a cost. You can download and install these tools today, and they will just work forever. The darker colored icons, they actually have some licensing. Like you, we are a for-profit company. We have to eat, and so we have to charge for some of our efforts, and these darker colored icons are the ones that are actually licensed. When you do get a license of Project Suite, it licenses everything. So you're not buying 1 and 2 licenses, you're buying the Project Suite as a whole, and all of it licenses all at once. So with this suite, I'm going to try and keep it floating out here on my screen, so in case I switch to other tabs, right, this will stay out here in front of our faces. This suite, again, is designed for all Revit users. We do, by the way, have upcoming webinars. They're going to highlight in detail the Manager Suite and the Batch Suite and the Hive Suite, but today's discussion is focusing on the Project Suite. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about these tools. I'm just going to kind of go through and quickly highlight them. Bim List, there's an admin and browser portion, a free tool, is a very lightweight content browser system for Revit. It's free. You can use this easily on a single computer. You can sort of roll it out across the firm. It's not designed to be a large-scale tool, but it's a quick, down and dirty little content management system that has no real cost other than the time it takes you to get it set up. There's a Detail Link, which is an AutoCAD linking tool for those of you transitioning from the AutoCAD world to Revit, or who get maybe manufacturer details from AutoCAD. You might want to bring that into your Revit environment. Detail Link can help you with this. Now, as I get to a tool like this, I often have BIM managers say things like, Sean, we do not want AutoCAD details brought into our project. Why would you write a tool like that? Well, there's a couple of options here. First off, I understand that you might not want AutoCAD in your projects, and I commend you for that. You can turn these tools off. If there's certain tools that don't really make sense for you and your team, turn them off. There's actually a Suite Settings button right here, and you can leverage this Suite Settings button to toggle things off. And if you go into the help information, you can actually find out how to toggle these tools off via Active Directory. So certain things just may not show on people's ribbons at all, depending on their rights. And I think that's fantastic. But back to this, why would I do this? Because some companies are still in transition and they have a huge AutoCAD detail library, and you may very well want to bring those details in cleanly and clean them up, maybe using like our manager suite up here, and then put them into some kind of a library tool, like the BIM List or our Hive tool up here. So this tool really helps you do this in a proper way. Now, granted, every tool has the ability to be used wrong, but that's why we have training. So, Length Calculator, a little tool here, free tool that helps MEP engineers calculate total run length of selected ductwork, conduit, piping, and cable tray. A cute little tool that does just that one thing, useful for MEP engineers. Project Link is a tool that can let you link documents and PDFs to your project directly. It's a tool that I probably wouldn't use much. It's probably going to go away in the near future. Hive is a far better solution for things like that. Quick Select is a tool that lets you make selections of objects in your project based on their properties, something that in Revit native you just can't do. I mean, yeah, I can select a bunch of things and I can filter down by category, but then I'm done. If I want to know how many walls actually have their top attached to level 2, I don't have the ability to select those elements. I can see those that are coincidentally the right height, but I can't tell if they're actually attached in mass selection. Maybe I want to find those that are not attached to level 2. You can do whatever you want there with this, but you can select elements by their properties. Find all walls that have a fire rating of 1 hour. You do whatever you need. Renumbering is a fantastic tool that lets you renumber rooms and doors based on room numbers, grid lines, views on sheets. I'm actually going to show this tool off a little later on. Lets you renumber views on sheets, and all these things just by clicking through in sequence. You can actually renumber anything if you're using the mark parameter value as well. And so there's a lot of functionality here with the free renumbering tool to quickly go through and renumber stuff. Fab Sheets is an excellent tool. Oops, I accidentally hit the enter key here. Fab Sheets is a fantastic tool set that allows you as a structural engineer to go through and create, say, panel books. Maybe you're doing precast construction or you're doing fabrication layouts and you have collections of objects that are going on specific sheets with schedules, with floor plans and elevations and 3D views. The Fab Sheets helps you generate those views and get them placed onto a sheet quickly. It can save a ton of time. This is actually built as a tool set to partner with some of our contractors who do a lot of stadium work, and they were trying to figure out and plan out in Revit their poor sequencing on site day by day, even hour by hour. And the Fab Sheets tool helps save them months of Revit work, getting that stuff built and documented so they can get it out to their team. They could do it in a day or two instead of a couple of months, because it was very tedious to do it by hand. Fire rating is a tool that lets you document and represent in floor plans the fire rating of walls and set them based on your graphics using lines, text, and or tagging. Invisibility Advisor helps you figure out why things are not showing up in your plan views. Now this one, or any view for that matter, this is one that I'm absolutely going to take some time and show you today. This is key. There's 59 reasons why something might not show up in a project, and I want to show you exactly how you can discover that and resolve it very, very quickly and easily. Model Compare is another fantastic tool, allows you to capture the differences between two different versions of a project model. So maybe you're an engineer and an architect sends you a project, you want to know exactly what's changed. Have they deleted and redrawn a wall? Have they changed a wall somehow that you might not catch in a floor plan? Maybe ceilings, elevation changes, things like that. This tool, when you capture this, it captures every piece of data in the model, or as much as you want, and then you can compare the model at a data level from a previous edition. So a really nice way of figuring out what's going on in that project file. Occupant Flow Analyzer. This is a great companion tool to the Path of Travel tool introduced by Autodesk in Revit 20.1 or 2. I don't remember which one. The nice thing about this tool is it works, as you can see, in Revit 2018. And a couple of things this does that the out-of-the-box tool does not do is it lets you traverse levels. So you can go up and down ramps and stairs. You can have multiple points converging on a single point. So if you're trying to figure out egress pathing from multiple rooms based on occupancy, this tool can help you figure that out. Maybe pathing to restrooms, pathing to fire suppression devices. You name it, this tool can help you path to it. It's pretty powerful. Draws real elements that can be tagged in the model. Parameter Jammer. You know, I can't tell you how frequently I'm talking with architects and engineers, and they've got users who go out to manufacturer websites for content. And while it's nice sometimes to go to outside sources and get manufacturer promoted content, you know, actual official componentry, it can be very frustrating at times because those things very frequently do not align with your standards and therefore don't tag and don't schedule correctly. And so then users end up spending a bunch of time, or they pass it to you and you get to spend a bunch of time repairing that content so that it will work, so that they can actually use something that's manufacturer supported. But you know, that's frustrating. Parameter Jammer can take that process and turn it into like 5 minutes. You pick the schedule it's supposed to work with. You tell it about the shared parameter file for your company. You pick the piece of content or pieces of content, and it takes you through a simple little wizard and says, hey, the schedule's expecting this, the family doesn't have it, what do you want to do? And you just make some choices. Whether you're swapping parameters or pushing parameters in, you can take care of that family and very quickly get to a point where that thing will at least schedule. It doesn't make it modeled perfectly to your standards, let's be real, but it sure does save time on that parameter processing workflow, at least from an end user's point of view, and it's a safe tool for them to use. We have far more powerful tools up in the manager suite like Family Processor that lets you do a lot more with the parameters, but this tool is designed for end users to be able to quickly get to a point of being able to schedule stuff. Revision Manager is a nice little tool for getting a revision report through your project, understanding what views have revisions, which sheets have revisions, where are the actual clouds drawn, assigning revisions to sheets. It's a great little tool for going through and just doing quick revision management in your project environment. I've seen some of my users who've actually taken this and created revision matrices. They like to do a revision matrix on their cover sheet. Revit can't do that natively. This tool can help you in the workflow of creating a revision matrix. Room data sheets, a great tool if you're dealing with rooms and or spaces in your project. Lets you create floor plans, elevation views, 3D sections, schedules, you name it, limited to a room or a space, and then places those onto a sheet in a nice organized way. It's kind of like Fab Sheets. Fab Sheets focuses on elements though, individual components or selections of components, whereas Room data sheets focuses on the room object and that which surrounds it and that which what is in it. So you can really rip through very quickly and create sort of these data sheets of rooms or spaces. Room Family Manager is a good little early planning tool. If you aren't using some other planning tool like Derofis and maybe you can't afford it, you don't want to afford it, it's too complex for your firm, this is a more simplistic workflow, powerful yet, using an Excel workflow to actually plan out rooms and spaces. Rooms and equipment in those rooms. Not really the right fit for every firm. You know, again, if you're using Derofis, skip this tool, use Derofis. But if you're not and you're doing planning of like, you know, clinics and smaller hospitals, this might be a fantastic tool for you to leverage in your workflow. And now I'm going to talk about the last 3 tools, all of which I want to demonstrate in today's discussion. There's Schedule Excel, which lets you take a graphic Excel file and bring that directly into your Revit project environment as a Revit schedule. So it looks and acts like a Revit schedule, but it gets all of its formatting, its graphics, its text, everything coming from Excel. You can also choose to use a drafting view with lines and text if you want. I personally prefer the schedule object. It's far lighter weight and far easier to maintain and work with. But regardless, this tool can help you with that process and does it really quickly. I'm going to talk about that and show it in an example, an architectural example of occupancy calculations in a minute here. To partner with that, and actually even before that tool, is Spreadsheet Link. And a good partner with that one is Spreadsheet Link Express. Spreadsheet Link allows you to take data from your Revit model, pull it into a spreadsheet, do all kinds of powerful either basic data entry or heavy Excel or spreadsheet-based formulas and calculations and data management from just an Excel environment or a spreadsheet environment, and then round trip that data right back into your model. This, again, one of my flagship tools in the project suite that is kind of a Swiss Army knife of tools. People often ask me, hey, Sean, can I do name your thing? And in a lot of cases, they're trying to use Dynamo to do that by taking data from Revit, pulling it to a spreadsheet, manipulating it, and round tripping it back in. Well, Spreadsheet Link is a far easier way for most users in many firms to be able to do this because we're all familiar with a spreadsheet type workflow. And this makes it super, super simple. You can create really powerful workflows and let users just run a preset configuration blindly without actually showing the UI. The user interface. You have that as an option with the Spreadsheet Link Express. The last tool here, View Creator, is actually where I'm going to start today's discussion. This lets you establish all of the views, floor plan views specifically that you need in a project, and also helps you manage views as the project lifecycle continues. I'm going to show an example today of how this can really aid and save a ton of time. So as I mentioned, if you have questions, throw them in the questions window while I'm going through some of these tools. I definitely want to try to answer those as we go. And I also want to let you know that this whole entire presentation is being recorded. So if you're like, oh man, I wish so-and-so had been here to see this, this is being recorded and will be thrown up on our YouTube channel in the near future here, and you can actually pass that link on to any of your team members who maybe couldn't attend today. All right, so let's begin the actual demonstration part of this, beyond just Sean talking about and pointing on screen with his mouse. Beyond that, what we actually want to see. So View Creator, the first thing I need to do for this is start in a brand new project. And to do this, I'm actually going to use one of my other suites of tools. I'm going to use the Hive CMS here real quick to grab my corporate template here in 2018, my starter project. I'm just going to double click on this. This is a starter project, so it's going to open up detach since work sharing is already enabled, and it's going to preserve my work sets. That tool, Hive, allows me basically to Google search all of the content that exists in my library. I've added all my doors, my wall types, you name it, my typical details and sheets, it's all in there. In a future discussion, I'm going to go in detail about this tool, but today I'm just using it to get my template so I can start a project up. Now my project, if you look over here to the left, you may notice is fairly bare of floor plans, and that's by design. See, in a design firm or a structural firm or an MEP firm, you never know what kind of project's coming through the door next. How tall is it going to be? Is it going to be a 30-story residential multifamily high-rise, or is it going to be a 1 or 2-story warehouse type project? So instead of having multiple templates, I like to have as few as I possibly can. In this case, I have some examples here of how I might set up my levels. And yes, I understand. I'm in the United States, so my measurement factor here of imperial units is silly. I get it. Ignore that. It's just numbers. Don't worry about it. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to set this up so that I don't have to keep typing a whole bunch of things by just putting in level 2 so that Revit will automatically increment my names level 3, 4, 5, which probably isn't how I would name a real project, but that's how I'm going to do it for today. I'm going to move these levels up a little ways here. In fact, let's do it one more time. Move this up a little further here. And I'm going to take my level 2 and I'm going to copy this up my building. So we're going to do sort of a mid-rise type structure here. Just going to copy this up. The nice thing about those level names, they're just going to call themselves out as level 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. What do we have here? 11. So I've got 11 above grade levels and 1 subgrade level, so 12 levels, and I've got a roof level, 13 levels of floor plans. Now, if this is a normal project, you'd jump to View, and you'd go to Plan Views and make a bunch of floor plans or structure plans or ceiling plans or you name it. You'd make some views like that. And then after you make those views, you'd probably go through and duplicate those a whole bunch of times for the different types of floor plans you need, changing their names and setting their view templates, if you have view templates. Well, I don't like doing that because I don't like sitting there right-clicking a bunch of times and duplicating manually and then manually setting view templates over and over again. That's frustrating to me. I like to have things a bit more automated. So what I'm going to do is use the View Creator tool to start my project off correctly, just quickly. I'm going to jump directly to the Plan and Ceiling tab. Now, there's a lot this tool can do, and I'm not going to cover everything. I'm just going to cover creating plans and creating dependent views in this little discussion today. I do encourage you in any of these tools that when you check them out to hit the little videos link here, and this will actually take you to our YouTube channel, to a playlist dedicated to the tool, and show you more about how this tool works and what it can do for you. In today's example, again, just for sake of time, I'm only going to show plans and dependent views. But what I'm going to do here, you notice how these are named over here? Just alphanumeric naming. If you were to alphabetize this, which is what Revit's going to do when you throw it in the project browser, then the sorting of this is a little squirrely, right? You get level 10, 11, 2 through 9, and then lower, main, and roof. And that to me drives me nuts. I mean, I like when things are alphabetically sorted, but I don't like when they're alphabetically sorted in illogical order. So I like to use the abbreviations over here instead. Because I copied level 2, all of these have the O2 abbreviation. I'm quickly going to go through one time here and just re-abbreviate these based on their level in the building. And see, if you're an engineer, a mechanical or plumbing, structural engineer, whatever you name it, when the architect names these to whatever the names are they feel they want, that's fine. Doesn't matter. You work with different architects. It's good. Good for you. But you can have your view naming abbreviations consistent from project to project. So I'm simply going to go through and check some boxes here. I want floor plans created for all of these levels. I want them created using these view templates here. I'm using some architectural examples, but if you're MEP, you'd have your own view templates with your names and your project. You just choose the ones you want. And I've also set the abbreviation that I want to use in my view name over here already in my template file. I pre-chose this. And I also want to do new construction. And I don't really care about having new construction suffix this thing. So I'm just going to add those all to my list, and you can see there's a huge list of views down here. If you're doing an existing project, doing some remodels or some as-built or whatever, maybe you're doing multi-phase construction, you can add those multi-phases to your list as well and have it auto-generate those views by phase, something that you cannot normally do out of the box. You have to manually set that because view templates don't control phase. They control phase filter, but not phase. And so now I'm going to create these views, and this is going to rip through all of those views that I've added to this list for all 13 levels, for the few different view templates I chose in the different phases, and this generates for me 117 floor plan views. Now, I don't know about you, but that would easily be an hour or two, maybe 3 of time of right-click duplicating a whole bunch of times, and then renaming, and then setting view templates, and hopefully I do it consistently for this project. In a lot of cases, people don't. And that's frustrating. In this case, I've got, well, I have to close this out first. I've got these views organized correctly because of my view templates, named exactly as I want them, and I'm ready to start modeling. So if we start doing some kind of a building here, let's just draw something up real quick. Do a basic tower of a high-rise or mid-rise building. We're going to copy this thing here, something over to the side here, and rotate this at some angle so it matches some site feature off in the distance because architecture. And then I'm going to connect maybe some kind of core of this building and draw a curve inside of here because the main entry of the building has to have something of interest and, again, architecture. So we'll go ahead and do that. So now that I've got this, I would like to create maybe some enlarged plans, right? I'm going to enlarge this and have area A up here, maybe area B, so that these things fit better on sheets. C, maybe D and E on this wing. And I like having my area plans align with different portions of my building. So I'm going to take this and we'll call this out as area A. And I'm going to copy that over a little ways. Come on now, if I could copy. Good Lord. Is my copy command broken? No, I just typed something extra. Okay, I'm just going to copy this guy over here. We'll get area C, area D. Maybe I rotate area D to match that wing of the building over here. Right, I'm just doing basic setup of a project, but I'm getting ready for my duplicate with detailing steps here. Copy this down, this wing, whatever, right? And now I'm going to jump back into View Creator, and instead of going to the next exercise, which is right-clicking all of these floor plans and duplicating again and naming a master by hand, and then duplicating them all with detailing as dependent 5 times over, I can do that right through here very quickly. In fact, I'm just going to make a whole bunch of floor plans that are all enlarged plans real quick. So I'm not going to do the existing ones this time because I don't care. But we'll just do some of these plans, new construction as enlarged. Add that to my list, create some views. You'll see them show up over here real quick, 60-something odd, I believe. Yeah, 65 additional plan views. And we're going to go ahead and then create all of our dependents real fast. So we'll say enlarged. For 65 of these views, check the selected ones, right? It's going to grab areas A through E, my scope boxes, and I can create these dependent views. Now, this is going to take it about 30 seconds to go through and do this, but man, this can save you so much time. This is something you don't have to do by hand now. This whole right-click, duplicate as dependent, rename, set the scope box, man, this could easily be, half a day of project setup. Despite Sean having talked for 10 minutes through this, I could have probably done this in about 3 to 5 minutes if I would have just been quiet and just done the work, right? But this is going to rip through and generate all of this, and I think this is, 325 additional floor plans here. What was that, 65 times 5? So 325 additional floor plans with all their properties set. So if I go to my level 1 area D, this angled wing of my building, I can now work over here doing whatever it is I want to do in that wing, square to the screen in this case. But of course, back in the overall floor plan view, everything's all angled correctly, right? That's time savings. That's View Creator. That's one tool to kick your project off right. Okay, let's close it in Windows. I'm going to tab back over to my other project that I had open here, and we're going to take a look at some other things that these tools can help you with. The next one I want to talk about is Invisibility Advisor. How many times have you gone into a project and tried to figure out why something doesn't show up? Something simple, right? If I'm doing an electrical layout in a project and I want to see the furniture so I know where to put outlets, or maybe I'm an architect and I'm working on a floor plan and I want to see furniture for egress planning so I know what people have to run around to get out of a space. Okay, turn on the furniture. Nothing super spectacular here. Visibility graphics, VV, VG in your keyboard, the button over there in the properties window, whatever, right? I'm going to go find furniture here and simply turn it on. Simple thing. Click OK. Furniture should show up. Except for sometimes somebody's done something squirrely in their view or your view, and you don't know why this thing isn't showing up. Now you get to dig through 58 more reasons why that furniture might not show up. Maybe it has something to do with the view range. Maybe it has something to do with visibility graphics work sets, or maybe there's filters set, or or. There's all kinds of reasons why this might not show up. Well, let's see if there's a faster way. I'm going to go find this in my project where one may already exist. Now, here we go. I can see the furniture right here in the furniture plan. That's fantastic. I'm going to tile this. I'm going to close out some views that I don't need anymore. And we'll tile this again. Here we go. Okay. So I happen to know that I'm in the right place in my floor plan, right? If I pick the room, it highlights in both places. If I pick a wall, highlights in both places. Pick a piece of furniture, it shows me where it belongs, but I can't actually see it. It's not here. It's here, but it's not here. And why? Well, I'm going to use Invisibility Advisor to tell me exactly why. When I open this up, because of my settings having selection only checked, it knows to pick that furniture piece. It knows that I'm in the code plan, floor plan view over here, and that's where I'm trying to figure out why it's not showing up. And when I click Find Element, it rips through all of the different reasons why that component does not show up in this view, and it tells me exactly why. Hey, look, there's an associated work set that's invisible. Well, I can blindly click Fix on this. All the ones in green, by the way, are very likely reasons. There's this gray one that says line work overrides may have been applied. Highly unlikely on a piece of content like this, but it's possible. It shows it just in case. But when I click Fix here on this associated work set invisible, what it actually did was it reached into the visibility graphics, it went into the work sets tab, and you may have noticed earlier when I opened this up and quickly clicked through it that FF&E was set to hidden. Somebody had hid the work set for visibility control. Not something that I like, but that's what they did. And so this actually reached in there when I clicked Fix and changed it for me. Now, I don't always just blindly click Fix. When I do, sometimes squirrely things can happen. Example, view range here. I know that my bottom of my view range is probably wrong in this case. 4 feet is, what, a meter and some change above the actual floor for the bottom of the view. That's higher than most of my furniture, so it's probably what's obscuring it, but maybe I don't know what the number should be. So I can blindly click Fix, and this will reach into the view range dialog, and actually change the bottom and the view depth to be some number. Now, in this case, again, it's a squirrely value. It's a couple of mil, but and I could change this to 0 if I cared to, but this thinks that that furniture is now in range, probably because the architect lifted this up on top of a finished floor component or something. But it's got it within range. That's great. In fact, if I was manually changing these values and I clicked check again, it would rip through all those things in case I was making changes, and I could validate that my changes actually did bring that thing into compliance with making this chair show. Now, sometimes I don't want to just click fix, like I said. I'd rather actually figure out where this control is. Maybe I don't know where view filters are actually set. It's a great learning experience. I can click show. It'll open up the visibility graphic dialog for the code plan, floor plan, bring me directly to the filters tab, and now I get to go through and go, oh yeah, furniture, visible, that should be showing, and maybe it was supposed to be halftone. Not that this is the right way to do a thing, but somebody obviously really didn't want to see furniture. 4 things originally were hiding it. But as I make these corrections now, that chair that I asked it to have it show me is now properly showing up in my view, and I'm done with the Invisibility Advisor. Instead of me needing to manually dig through all the different reasons and coach some user who doesn't necessarily know the answer, I could use this tool to quickly discover exactly why and repair the reasons why that component, whatever it was not showing up in this view. And this works in sections, elevations, 3D views, floor plans, you name it. If it's a view in Revit, I can tell it to figure out why that thing isn't showing in that view. Okay, next thing. Let's close this view and maximize this one. I want to talk about 2 more tools with the time that I've got allocated to this today. Actually, no, 3 more tools. I do want to talk about one of the free tools. In fact, let's talk about this one next. Renumbering. Free tool. 0 cost to you because it's free, right? I'm going to go down to one of my sheets. We're going to talk about this from a point of view of renumbering views. That's not the sheet I meant. Let's close this. Sections, there we go. We're going to do some renumbering of views on a sheet. We're first of all going to kind of talk about what the problem with this is. Now, I used to be a contractor 20 years ago before I started working at CTC Software doing what I'm doing now. I used to be a contractor in the field, and I personally preferred seeing document sets where the views were numbered vertically, 1, 2, 3, and going in columns from right side to left side. I'm weird, I get it. Most people like it going horizontally across the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know why, I just prefer the vertical numbering going to the left. And so I'm going to number this sheet that way. So I want this here to be view number 1. And right now it's view number 8. Someplace on this sheet is a view number 1. It's not over here. In fact, it probably belongs right there. But where is it? Oh, there it is. It's down here, right? You all might know already, if I change this detail number to 1, Revit's going to give me this lovely little message that says that number is already in use. And it's not going to let me continue. I can't click OK. I can't ignore it. I have to cancel and go track down where view number 1 is. Now, if you've got 30 drafting views or details on a sheet, you might get to do this renumbering dance 30 times over. And that's not fun, especially when you've got 5, 6 sheets or more to go through and number before printing and get them all set up correctly. This renumbering tool is purpose-built to save you a bit of time. I am specifically doing detail numbers here. I'm going to start my sequence with number 1. I'm going to automatically swap my detail number to handle that issue where there's duplicate numbers on a sheet and just renumber. And then I'm going to click in the sequence that I want. 1, 2, 3 down the sheet, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right? And I'm done. As I've done this, it actually went through and renumbered that in the order in which I clicked. 1, 2, down my sheet 3, and then 4, 5, 6, and then finally 7, 8, 9. It took care of this for me and saved me the headache of needing to manually do that numbering. Now I know it's only a couple of minutes of time, but it's a bunch of frustration. And if I've got a bunch of sheets, this free tool just saved me 20, 30 minutes of numbering and did it in a few seconds. I mean, what more could you ask for from a free tool, right? You can do this with rooms. Start sequencing, auto swap numbering so you don't end up with duplicate room numbers. You can use the doors, do room-based numbering based on the room the door is swinging into or out of. This automatically suffixes things like A, B, C, or .1, .2, .3 for multiple doors in the same space. You pick how that's going to do that, but it can save you a bunch of time when the client comes back and tells you to number things a certain way, and you need to comply with that. This can help you do that much faster than doing it one by one by hand, right? So for a free tool, a lot of value there. Okay, next tool that I'm going to talk about, I already did Invisibility Advisor, Spreadsheet Link. Yes, this tool here. Okay, my Swiss Army knife tool. And then I'm going to tie it in with Schedule Excel over here. I want to take you through a little user story of Spreadsheet Link and why at first when I was using Revit, I got super excited about Revit and then got a little disillusioned. Okay, you all probably know this already, but when you take an element in Revit, I'm trying to grab the room here. Come on, room, highlight for me. What is your deal? Room. Okay, let's hide this under link here to get rid of it. And there we go. There's my room. Okay, so I've got my room selected. And if you go to floor material here and you put in a value like CPT-1, you would probably not be surprised if I jump over to the room finish schedule and that floor material was CPT-1, right? So if I scroll up here, room finish schedule, magical, right there, room 117 CPT-1. Like when I first started using Revit, this was amazing, right? You can go to the schedule, PNT-1 for a paint material. By the time you get back to that floor plan, the magic of Revit has taken over and this thing is already paint 1. That's awesome, right? Thought that was great. But when you start using schedules for a little while, sometimes you might get a little disillusioned like I did. Now I expect this to work a lot like Excel, looking like a spreadsheet. But if you highlight a couple of values here and you Control C, arrow down, Control V, you cannot copy paste things. Yeah, I know, room schedule keys, you could build those up, but then you got to teach interior designers how to use a different schedule to set a room schedule key up and then assign it to rooms. And then if they want to make an off room that's not a part of the schedule key set, they remove a key, lose all their data values, enter it all back in again. That's not convenient. That's not efficient. So what I like to do is give people tools that they feel comfortable using. Like, I want to edit this in Excel. So let's try it. I'm going to go to Spreadsheet Link and use this tool in a very entry-level way. I'm going to tell it that I want to use my schedules that already exist in my project. I want to use my room finish schedule right here. It's going to scan my schedule. It's going to scan my project for the components that are supposed to show up inside that schedule. And then it's going to give me back that data in here. And so if I pull this spreadsheet forward, you'll see here's that exact same room 117. It's training room 1, same thing as here. And I've got carpet 1, paint 1, and I can use things like autofill, right? Of course, Excel and most spreadsheets, when you autofill, they auto-increment. And just like Excel and many spreadsheet programs, I can hold down the Control key and autofill, and it will turn off the auto-increment. Maybe I want to put an accent wall in here. You name it. You do whatever you want with your data, right? Copy, paste. Highlight a bunch of stuff. You want to autofill this up and down? Go for it. It's your data. You fill it out how you see fit. And when you're all done, notice how I did not have to save out to a spreadsheet. I'm doing this editing live, basically on top of my Revit environment, and I can apply this active worksheet right back to my project. And those elements, when I'm ready to have them written back, those 21 rooms now have that data, whatever that was, filled out. Now, sure, if you wanted to give this to an interior designer in the firm or an architect or a client and have them fill data out, feel free. Save this out to a spreadsheet. Let them edit this in an external spreadsheet program. Have a good time with that. But you don't have to. You can use this either live in Revit or save it out. Fantastic, right? You can do both ways. But here's where the Spreadsheet Link becomes really powerful. Let's talk about things Revit doesn't do super well. If I click a room and I have an occupancy parameter down here, I want to fill this occupancy parameter on this system family. Room is a system family, means you can't edit it outside of Revit. You can't write your own formulas on it outside of Revit, element by element. I want to simply take my area, whatever my units of measure are, I want to take my area and divide it by some load factor. Now, I built into this project the IBC occupancy category list, so I can say, oh, this is a dormitory, and my area per person, my load factor, shows up as 50 square feet per person required. Or if I switch this back to an educational classroom area, it shows up 20 square foot. But I want to do some basic maths. I want the area divided by my load factor, and I want that to autofill out here on the element. I don't care if it's in a schedule, because a schedule isn't real BIM. I mean, a schedule can show me data, that's great, but if the data only exists there and not on the room element, then nobody else, none of my consultants, I can't export the data. It's not usable by any other team members other than whoever is live in this Revit model. And I could do a calculated value on a tag to show the information, but that could be a different formula than what's actually on the schedule, and that's a problem. That could create data integrity issues. So I want to be able to do this calculation, have it show up in the room object, have my tag and my schedule reflect that data. And to do that, I need to probably write a Dynamo routine. Or do I? I can go to Spreadsheet Link. I'm going to do some basic maths here in front of you. I'm going to grab rooms. Simple room object, you can do this with spaces, areas, you name it. If you have an element in Revit, you can actually run calculations on it. Any category that you can schedule, and a lot of things you can't schedule, text components you can pull into here. If I go grab text notes, you can grab dimension strings, you can grab whichever you want. In this case, I'm grabbing rooms. With rooms, I want to know what level these rooms exist on, because I'm going to use this later on for some level-based occupancy calcs that don't rely on Revit's rounding, which is sometimes very, very unreliable. I want to grab the area per person, my value that I was using, my custom parameter here, and I want to grab the occupancy parameter value. Now, in Excel, in spreadsheets, you can write basic formulas, right? Equals 1 + 1, and it does some maths for you. And you can auto-fill that stuff down. Now, doing basic maths is not very interesting. I want to do cell D4 divided by cell E4. So let's do that. Equals this, divide by this. Now, because I'm using imperial measurements, I've got square feet out here. In many of your plans, you're probably going to have square meters. And it might be m squared, it might be, m to the power of 2 or whatever it writes out there when you export the data, but it's probably going to have units of measure on it. And if it does, it makes it real tricky to go through and do calculations. I mean, this one I could probably trim off 3 characters from the right side and be, no problem. Here in the US, when we're using imperial properties, it gets even more tricky when you have feet and inches involved, right? Try and write the strip formula for this. I've done it. It's 1.5 miles long. It's not fun, and it's not easy to debug and troubleshoot later. So I try not to use this. What I like to use is this little hide unit symbol down here. We've built this in to automatically strip away the units of measure. It writes them at the top so you know what they were, you know what to expect from them, but now you've got raw numbers that you can play with, right? And we've also built in this little calculate thing here because I don't feel like filling a formula out and then auto-filling it down. I want this to automatically take care of itself. So I'm just going to go over here and say equals this value divided by this value, and when I hit enter, it auto-fills for me all the way down to the bottom of however many elements I have in this extracted list. Now you might notice a bunch of these pound values or hashtag values out here. That's because Excel or spreadsheets don't like dividing a value by nothing. Divide by 0 is a horrible thing. It doesn't like that. And so it's giving me errors here. I have to handle that somehow. And I'm also getting decimal points of people, and I like to round to the nearest whole person. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to write a little formula here. If error, do some things, and then do some rounding to, actually, let's do round up to 0 decimal places. And if there is an error, put nothing. So I can run that down, and it auto-fills that down for me and takes care of all the maths, handles the blank cells here, does all the work. And I'm basically done. I could apply this directly back to my project and have my occupancy filled out. But let's go one step further. Because really, this is just occupancy. And rarely do I do occupancy because it's fun, right? I do occupancy because I need to use this to figure out, well, by code, how many water closets do I need to put into my project? How many drinking fountains, labs, how many parking spaces? You name it. How big are my egress sizing? Like, all of this can be calculated based on this occupancy. That's usually why I'm doing it in the first place. And so instead of me building this all up from scratch in front of you, I have a presentation about this already. I'm just going to show you the end result of this. I'm going to load some settings because you see you can save your settings to make this 100% repeatable. I would never expect one of my end users to remember exactly how to write an Excel formula to get the exact results we got last time. So I'm just going to load some settings that I've already pre-saved that has all this stuff figured out. It's going to replace everything that I've done here so far. And at the same time, let's see here, Spreadsheet Link, my room calculations, here we go. This is also going to open an already pre-existing Excel workbook that already has a bunch of formatting for my code compliancy stuff. You can see here, water closet method 1, 2, and 3. Urinal calcs, lab method 1, 2, and 3, right? There's a whole bunch of stuff inside of here. And this actually grabbed my rooms. It's grabbing my levels as well. It's filling out my data. Now, this has a slightly different formula than before where I was doing a round down instead of a round up. But I don't have to remember what the formula syntax was. It took care of it for me and did all the math. and filled out my rooms. In fact, I can apply this worksheet right back to my project right now, and it'll give me back the 96 rooms worth of calculations across my entire building. And if I go to the different methods of calculation now, because I know what level those rooms are on, and because I also extracted my levels, I know what the level names are specific to this project, this went through and said, okay, you've got basement level, level 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they're in a specific order. This is the total occupancy on those levels. Based on that, you've got an equal number of men and women. And based on that, based on whatever your calculation is, how many water closets you need for the men's room and the women's room on that floor. Same thing here, same thing here. Different kinds of calculations, and it runs all the maths for me. Now this is something that I might want to bring back into Revit with the background cell infills, with the heavy lines, the medium and light lines, all the stuff. I want this in my Revit model so I can put this on a code compliancy sheet or my cover sheet and do things with it. But Revit can't bring this in directly, but our toolset can. So hang on a second here. I'm going to save this out to my desktop. We're going to call this, let's see, desktop. This is going to be Room Calcs APAL, since they're our partner down there in Australia. We're going to go ahead and put Room Calcs APAL on here. And I'm going to save that out. And wants to know if I want to open it up. I don't care to. I'm just going to shut this whole process down now, since I've already got my calculation results in my project, and I've already got this heavily formatted Excel spreadsheet that did all the work for me. I just want to bring that back into my Revit model. In fact, I want to bring it back into my Revit model as a Revit schedule, what looks like a Revit schedule. So let's do that with the next and final tool here. I'm going to use Schedule Excel. I'm going to add a reference to that file that I just saved out to my desktop. Where is it at here? Room Calcs APAL, right there. I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to bring in a whole bunch of worksheets, all of them except for my first Rooms tab that I don't need, and a couple of closing ones down here that I don't need that are just control tabs. But I'm going to bring all these different methods of calculation in. Normally, I probably just bring in the one water closet calc that I wanted, but I want to show you just how fast it is to bring in a bunch of Excel stuff, all as different tabs brought in, and you'll start noticing them show up over here. I have my graphic settings configured to show Z-Link dash, and it shows then the name of the tab after that. So Z-Link dash water closet method calculation 1, 2, 3, urinals 1, labs 1, 2, 3. All 10 tabs are getting brought in directly. This is a huge time saver over the process of bringing these tabs in from linking them to AutoCAD and then bringing the AutoCAD link into Revit. And every time there's a change, you have to save your Excel file, open and save the AutoCAD DWG per each tab you're bringing in, and then go into Revit and refresh all those links. That's all manual, right? This just did it, and it's going to keep it automatically up to date like every other link in Revit would do. So a fantastic way. Easy way of getting those Excel tabs brought in. But what do they look like? Right? Well, let's go find out. I'm going to actually drop those onto my sheet. I'm going to use my title sheet here in this case, and I want to put them out here right next to a real Revit schedule. This is my real Revit sheet list. And right next to the sheet list, I'm going to drop out there, let's say, water closet method 3. I'll just randomly pick that one. Drop that out there. And you might notice here I've got heavy lines, medium lines, light lines, background cell infills, just like it was in Excel. I'm going to go ahead and drop urinal method 1 because I work in different cities, different states, provinces, counties, you name it. They have different rule sets they want me to follow. So now I can mix and match and stack up whatever my rule set is for the area that I'm working in and make sure that this thing gives me the exact calculations I want. This now looks, acts, and feels like a single schedule. It prints like a single schedule. It's super lightweight, sits right alongside my other schedules, lines up nice and neatly. I'm done. Right, that's all my entire layout here for whatever city I was dealing with, whatever governing agency I'm working with. This is ready to go. And the next time there's design changes from the architecture team, I simply rerun Spreadsheet Link and apply my room properties back, and then just refresh my schedule Excel list, and I print, and I'm done. Right, that's 5 minutes for full occupancy calcs, full code compliancy calcs on a real project, 5 minutes or less, and I'm ready to print. As opposed to the manual process of validating visually for 2 hours and then re-updating those links and then printing. Right? This saves you 2 hours every time you want to print if you're doing calculations in this type of fashion. It can make it real easy. All right, I've gone through a lot of stuff today live inside of Revit. I've shown a number of tools and how they can work to make your life quite a bit easier. I want to jump back over to my PowerPoint real quick and talk with you about how you can get your hands on this suite, how you can try it out. You can try this for free for 14 days for the paid tools. The free tools just continue to work forever. But I want to show you how you can get that. So I've pulled up a website here. This is apal.com.au. This is our partner down there in Australia, right next to you guys. On their website, if you go to the products portion, there's CTC software listed right here. And with CTC software, you can very easily come down and say, hey, I saw Sean give a demo on the BIM Project Suite, and I want to know more about it. So you can get the project brochure for it, or if you want to try it yourself, go ahead and get the BIM Project Suite trial. You can go ahead and register for this. Gives you a trial of the tools for 14 days. Try it out, see if you like it. And again, this installs automatically Revit 2017 through 21, and one license of the tool will automatically support all those versions on your computer. Yes, we offer network licensing and standalone licensing and all kinds of options. And feel free to talk to the APAL team down there. Get a hold of them, contact them, see what they can, what kind of advice they can give you about tools and how they can help you understand how to leverage these. But you can really easily try this out right now and see if this might help gain beneficial, speed ups in your workflows throughout the day. Have a fantastic week, and we'll catch you all later.